Well, good morning, and I want to thank you for coming out. I also want to thank Bruce Niemi with the Democrat Party. I'd like to thank Mike Neal and Elizabeth Osborne with the Tulsa Metro Chamber. And I'd also like to thank Gwen Freeman and Tommy Neal for their work here at the election board. What we are doing today is a collaborative effort to solve a very important issue here in not just Tulsa County, but across the state, and that's filling our precincts. And so what we have to have is we have continuous need for our poll workers. So Adopt a Precinct came about by a meeting between myself and Bob Jack with Tommy Neal discussing what are some ways that we could come up to be able to get poll workers. Because if you're familiar with the poll workers, a lot of them are elderly, a lot of them are getting, there's sickness, there's things that keep them from being able to work, and so there's always a constant need for them. Tulsa has 251 precincts. Each precinct is required to have a minimum of 3 people. So that's a lot of people that we have to have, and sometimes people get sick or things happen and they can't make it, so we have to have backup. And so we came together and decided that maybe we could pull the businesses in, which allowed us to reach out to the chamber. And they very eagerly and with great enthusiasm embraced this idea, because they're going to be able to work with businesses and help us get the workers that we need. And it's going to change I believe it's going to change the entire look of our precinct workers. I think we're going to get younger and more enthusiastic people involved in our precinct, or our poll workers. And so I'm very excited about that. We have in 2024, out of our 12 months, we have 6 elections. So 6 months is going to, we're going to have a lot of work that we've got to get done in 2024. It's a big year. And this goes beyond 2024. And that's why it's important that the chamber is involved in this. This goes beyond my term, it goes beyond Bruce's term. It needs to continue on, because this is a continuous need. And if we want to have our elections, our in-person elections, it's very important that we're able to fill these needs. And I appreciate any business that's willing to work with us and work with the chamber. And I am very excited about this program. And it's now my great honor to introduce my counterpart, Bruce Niemi with the Democrat Party.
Thank you very much, Rhonda. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I appreciate the coverage of the Tulsa media in turning out today to cover what I think is a very important event. A friend of mine commented on the way over here that Ronda and I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for coming together.
Amen. Amen.
And so it's important for us to recruit poll workers. I was a member of this election board up until April of this year, and I knew how many election vacancies in the precincts needed to be filled, because we would get a written report that we had to approve. And what we're asking is for Mike's organization's membership and the CEOs of companies across Tulsa to sign up for this Adopt a Precinct program. And I'm really gratified that Ronda reached out to me and the Democratic Party. And this is a great day in Tulsa history. Have a good day. And now I want to introduce Mike Neal. He knows no introduction. He's one of the most flamboyant Tulsa leaders as executive director of the Chamber of Commerce. Mike,
Bruce, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bruce. I thought hell might freeze over before something like this happened today. It's quite amazing. First of all, thank you all so very much for being here. The Chamber's thrilled to have a chance to participate in really this historic occasion in our community. We really are here to address an issue that affects the foundation of the democracy of our country, the democracy of our community. And that's really the current shortage of poll workers. This is a problem that we must confront as a community to ensure that free and fair elections continue in this city, in this county, and in the state. I want to first applaud the chairs of both the Tulsa County Republicans and the Tulsa County Democrats to come together to work collaboratively to strategize about a way to help get us to the next level during a time in national politics when increasing polarization is occurring. Certainly we saw that this past week in our nation's capital. But our city is showing up, and it's really showing its strength by putting aside political differences to confront matters that need and deserve its attention. As I mentioned before, I think this is truly a historic partnership, one that I hope can be an example for communities across the country in dealing with similar problems. If our community is to prosper, we must have the resources, we must have the volunteers needed to properly administer elections. And until the last few, the last couple of elections, you kind of took all this stuff for granted. But as we've seen what's happened across the country, it's becoming really more and more important that we do this, and that we try to do this as strategically and as in a bipartisan fashion as we can. But so the importance of the decline today and the inconsistency in securing available poll workers has really been a one-voice priority for the last several years. And we're happy to see the Oklahoma State Legislature take steps this past session to examine what can be done. And so we appreciate that. That's a great first step. But still more work is needed. And so really, let's talk a little more specifically about what we think can be done and then what we really plan to do this coming year here in Tulsa. Our chamber is partnering with the Tulsa County Election Board and the Tulsa County Republican and Democratic parties to create the Adopt a Precinct initiative. This initiative encourages businesses to take an active role in promoting civic engagement by allowing employees paid leave time to work as precinct officials on election days. So they'll pay employees to take time off to come volunteer to be a poll worker. We've got some 2,000 chamber members, small, medium, and large, and we really encourage these businesses of all shapes and sizes. We encourage them to participate in this newly created Adopt a Precinct program. We think it will really help us and really help the county mitigate this worker shortage. Specifically, businesses can allow their employees to volunteer for any major election, providing them with PTO for their service. Each company's volunteers also will receive paid training by the election board and a state stipend for their work at the polls. The program will ensure that polls are properly staffed on election day, and it could also inspire new generations of Americans to get involved in this democratic process. Adopt a Precinct is an innovative opportunity to demonstrate the vital role that our businesses play in the Tulsa community and the importance of free and fair elections. We've set up a page on the Chamber's website. We've got a one-pager we'll give you when we leave here today. But we've set up a page on the Chamber's website to house this information. You can go to tulsachamber.com/adopt-a-precinct to sign up or to learn more about how to get your company involved in this program. Once again, that's tulsachamber.com/adopt-a-precinct. As Ronda referenced earlier, there'll be at least 6 elections next year. But we know the need will be greatest in elections in the months of March, June, and November. So we'll try to pay special attention to those 3 elections. But again, I want to say a special thank you to the Tulsa County Election Board, the chairs of Tulsa County Democrats, Tulsa County Republicans. This is truly an unprecedented level of cooperation and partnership, and I really think it really shows how special the Tulsa region is. I strongly encourage, and our board of directors of the chamber strongly encourages our business leaders, our business members, to consider adopting a precinct and to participate in this program. We'll continue to share information about the program in the months to come as the program is further developed and refined and as elections near in this new year. Again, thank you to everyone involved in making this idea become a reality and those who step up to volunteer. I know I've been trying for years. I come from Louisiana. I always when I go to sign up to election, I normally go early in the morning after coming from the gym, and they ask you all your stuff, and always ask them if I can come back in Louisiana. We voted early and often. They say you can't do that here. Someone knows that they say you can't do that in Oklahoma. Said the dead can't vote here either. Kevin, you might want to check on that. It's a Louisiana investigation you can do if you have some free time. But I'm really now delighted to introduce Gwen Freeman, the Secretary of the Tulsa County Election Board, who is a valued partner and will be one that will be really responsible for helping oversee this and responsible for seeing through the implementation of this program in collaboration with our businesses and the two political parties across our county. So, Gwen, the program's yours.
Oh, this is beautiful. These guys.
I don't like following Mike Neal. Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you to the media representatives that are here today, our Tulsa Regional Chamber of Commerce representatives, our Tulsa County representatives, and a really heartfelt thank you to the representatives and leadership of both our Democratic and Republican parties, specifically Ronda Vuillemont-Smith, Republican Party Chair, and Bruce Niemi, the former election board member and now chair of the Democratic Party here in Tulsa County. So as their letter states, and I don't know if you have a copy of it yet, but you will, these two parties don't always agree on politics, but they put aside their politics for the purpose of uniting in this critical task of staffing our elections here in Tulsa County. To my knowledge, this type of partnership and initiative between our major political parties and our Tulsa Regional Chamber is not only innovative, but unprecedented. They have my eternal gratitude, and I'm certain the gratitude of all of our Tulsa County voters. You've heard me say over the years that we cannot hold elections without our poll workers. Well, that's not just a saying. That is the truth, and that is law. One of the factors that makes this election board and election boards like it across the state different from other governmental agencies is that in order for us to remain functional, we rely on two things. And when I say rely on them, we're 100% reliant on them. Number one is our voting locations. As you know, we rely on our churches and our libraries and various community centers and to supply our voters with a place to vote on election day. And number two, our poll workers. And that's everyday citizens we're relying on to come forward, volunteer to work the polls on election day. This means both Democrats and Republicans, as required by Oklahoma law. And ultimately, the employees that work here at the election board, we can go through this very intense and complicated task of setting up elections. But if there aren't enough volunteers to work at the polls, all our hard work means absolutely nothing. If we can't staff elections, we can't hold elections. And that's the bottom line. Over the past few years, just to give you a little bit of a backdrop here, we have seen a steady and disturbing decline in the number of qualified people who are willing to work our polls on election day. And with the presidential election year right around the corner, this should be a matter of great concern for all of us here in Tulsa County. But this is not just a Tulsa County problem. Our state legislators, as Mike Neal just mentioned before me, are keenly aware of our statewide shortage and our shortage of volunteers. And in response to that shortage, statewide shortage, they have passed new legislation this past session, not only to increase poll worker pay, but also it allows some county election boards to potentially combine certain precincts in order to address this shortage. Again, we are 100% reliant on volunteer poll workers in order to conduct our local, county, state, federal, and presidential elections next year. We are currently diverting a lot of our time and effort into an inordinate amount of energy and resources just to try to find folks who are willing to work. So you cannot imagine how grateful I am for this help from folks who just mean a lot to Tulsa County. If we are not successful in this effort, it could mean fewer polling places. Nobody likes to hear that. It could mean longer lines. It could mean additional time driving to get to your polling places, and potentially even further legislative measures to address this shortage and maintain our election process. So this is an effort that will require corporate and community mobilization. Again, very grateful for the people and organizations standing with me here today, those watching that recognize the critical need to recruit these volunteers in order for all of us as a community, that's Democrats, that's Republicans, Libertarians, Independents, to ensure access to free, fair, and accurate elections. It's my hope that this workable and thoughtful plan presented here today by our two major parties and our Tulsa Regional Chamber can serve as a model for the rest of our state and assist other election boards in their search for workers. This is an historic initiative presented today, and an effort I think that we can all take pride in. I certainly do. And finally, the vote that you cast at your precinct is made possible by these civic-minded volunteers. Thank them, be kind to them, and consider becoming one of them. Thank you very much.
We'll now have Elizabeth Osborne with the Tulsa Regional Chamber talk about the tactical execution of this for the businesses, and then after that, if you guys have any questions, you can ask them.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Elizabeth Osborne, the Senior Vice President of Government Affairs at the Tulsa Chamber, and as my boss, our CEO, Mike Neal, mentioned, this is not only a very historic and innovative partnership, but it's something that businesses have put on the Tulsa Chamber's legislative policy agenda for the past year and have focused their critical attention on. So we're excited to be able to give businesses an action step. I wanted to walk you through this frequently asked questions page. So this is available on our website to guide businesses through the process. A couple of quick reminders are that, first of all, this is not just a City of Tulsa initiative, this is county-wide. So this is Jinx, Bixby, Broken Arrow, Owasso, anything that touches in Tulsa County, this involves you. You also do not have to be a Tulsa Chamber member to be a participating business. We welcome all businesses of all sizes. We understand that for smaller businesses, it may be more difficult to lend as many staffers, so we understand that challenge, and we'll work with businesses of no matter what size. Secretary Gwen Freeman has walked us through the process to be a poll worker. There's one full day of paid training. There's not necessarily any limit on the number or requirement on the number of elections that one must work. But again, make sure that as you leave today, you have this frequently asked questions page, which will be essential for businesses that want to participate. And we will be recognizing businesses and ensuring that they're recognized and publicized for this very important civic duty. Again, you can either visit the Tulsa Chamber website at tulsachamber.com/adopt-a-precinct, or go straight to the Tulsa County Election Board webpage, and they've made it extremely simple. There's a poll worker portal login, and that's where you'll get started with the process. Thank you.
Good job, Luke.
Anybody have any questions? Sure.
How soon can this take effect? Will this affect any votes going up in November, perhaps?
There are no votes in November. So not here in Tulsa, our next elections will be in February, and that will be school board elections for districts 2, 5, and 6.
We actually do have a smaller, but it's
Oh.
a smaller one. It's smaller election. It's okay, in November. But, you know, the
I think they're gonna have that one staffed. They're not gonna have
Yes.
any problem staffing
We
that
do.
one. It'll be a small one. Okay.
Since it's smaller.
My apologies.
No,
I
it's
should have deferred to you.
The game plan is to really focus on 2024,
Right.
2024 and beyond.
And where the most need is gonna be, or in, as Mike had mentioned earlier, are in the 3 major elections next year. In March is Super Tuesday for the presidential primary. June is our primary election, and then our general is in November. So that's where the need is gonna be the greatest, because that's where we're gonna have to man well, and also for the runoff as well. If there's a statewide runoff, then it'll be statewide. So it's gonna depend on the elections that are going to occur next year as to where it's gonna be the most needed. Like I say, if we don't have a statewide runoff, then it's only going to be, the runoffs are only gonna be in the areas in which they are, and it's not gonna be statewide.
A question probably more for the county election board. Is there a set timeline yet announced we haven't seen in regards to moving this building to the 12,000 ECLA Drive?
I wish I had a clear and concise answer for that. No, there's not a set timeline yet. But we're looking forward to the day, and hopefully it will be soon, that we'll be able to take the building and get the necessary renovations that need to be done on the inside, get those taken care of before we can officially move in.
Have you talked to poll workers that have resigned their position, and what is the cause of why they don't come back, or they're not coming to you guys in the first place? Is it because of the polarization, the political process? Is it because the public is rude to them? Just what's the reason for all of a sudden the public disengaging with you guys, and have you done any research on that?
We've done, anecdotal research on that, and I don't have a clear answer for that, although I will tell you that during the pandemic in 2020 is when, a lot of our older workers that were at risk of COVID, higher risk of COVID, began to say, I didn't blame them at all, but ever since 2020 and the pandemic, we've had a steady decline. In answer to your question about the public being a little energetic about casting their vote, and sometimes, making our poll workers feel bad, that does happen. That historically has not really happened before, but it's become a little more contentious. I think too, we have an aging workforce. I mean, a lot of the poll workers that we've had, that we still have, as a matter of fact, they've been a poll worker for 20, 30 years out of the polls, and they love it. But eventually, you get to a certain age, you can't lift those boxes or drive at night, those sort of things, factors come into play. So what we're wanting to do is replenish this aging workforce with younger people who are, really, looking forward to getting civically engaged and learning about the process. It is not just younger people, I don't mean to, but we've seen this steady decline. There's no one real reason for it. If there was, I wish I knew what it was, but that's been kind of the case since 2020. That's been across the state too.
What exactly was the shortage or numbers of the last election that needed to have more workers?
I don't remember the numbers. I just know that I say to people, if this is one of the few governmental organizations that completely is reliant on public participation. I mean, if you think about it, every other governmental organization, they have their employees, and that's what it takes. A good example might be that if every time you wanted to hold, a jury in the judicial system or a trial in the judicial system, and you had to go out and beg for people to be jurors for every single trial, your judicial system would fall apart quite quickly, I think. Now, I'm not suggesting in any way, nor do I think it would be a good idea at all for people to be mandated to work the polls. Please don't put that. But it's just but it's just an example of, when we're 100% reliant on public participation, when the public is no longer willing to participate or can participate, that puts one of the most vital government organizations in jeopardy, and that's where we see ourselves now.
So you pay poll workers, right?
Yes.
So the businesses will also be paying them. So will they be getting double pay for doing that?
Yes.
They receive a,
be
they'll
a good
receive
day
a
for them.
stipend, yes, from the state. If you consider $100 pay for a day, then that's, but it's a 12 or 13-hour day.
That's if the business enrolls it, and they sort of take part.
Sounds like a good incentive to me.
Well, and as Gwen mentioned about the legislature, and so did Mike, last year, effective July, the pay doubles. But that's not until July because that's when the next fiscal year begins for the state. So we're not really making that part of what this is, but their pay will double next year.
So this would go into effect starting in 2024?
July of 2024.
Oh, I'm sorry, the adopted precinct.
Yes.
This goes into effect for all 2024 elections and beyond.
And beyond. That's why it's important that the chamber be involved. Bruce and I are not going to be the party chairman forever. And so it's up to, if we can keep this program going, then we assure that each time that we have elections, we're going to have enough people to fill those positions. So that's why it's so important, and we're so thankful that the Tulsa Metro Chamber came on board with us and embraced this program because it's bigger than us. It goes beyond our terms.
So the adopted precinct technically doesn't have an expiration date on it?
No, sir.
And one other thing I might add to what these folks are saying is that state law requires that you be educated or in class one full day before you're able to be a precinct worker. So what we are hoping to do is respond to folks who want to join in this program by offering classes now, basically.
Right.
Because once 2024 hits and we're in the middle of a very, very busy election cycle, it's going to be hard for us to stop down and stop everything in order to take people through the training classes. So we're offering training classes now in advance of 2024's election cycle.
As far as we know, this is only Tulsa County doing this so far?
Yes.
Have you talked to other counties, try to advertise this?
Well, I've spoken with other county chairmen and I've spoken with our state party chairman, and everybody's very excited about it. I've not heard anybody that thinks that this is a bad idea. So I can see it catching on, especially, like I say, especially as the chambers embrace it, because it's got to be, somebody's got to be able to handle it beyond what we're doing, and I think that the chamber is a great place to do that. And I'm excited that we're working together.
Real quick, are we the first in the nation to roll out this kind of program?
Bruce, let's get up here. So, here's the thing. We can't disagree on everything, right? And there are going to be some things that we can agree on that we can work together. And it's time that there's some adults in the room. And so we want to be the adults in the room that say, we're going to put aside our party differences and we're going to work together towards a common good. And that's what this common good is adopt a precinct. This is something, it's not a Republican issue, it's not a Democrat issue. It's just an issue. It's an election board issue that they came to us looking for ideas. We proposed this idea, and then we asked the chamber to come on board. And so I believe this is, when they say this is unprecedented, this is not being done anywhere, to my knowledge, anywhere else in the United States. Bruce?
I would agree totally with that assessment because, having served on the election board for 4 years, it really is a yeoman's effort to get these elections done. Out here in this driveway, people are coming in on election night, dropping off their boxes and ballots. And so it requires a big force just right here in this foyer. There will be tables set up to tabulate the vote. So I think it's really great. By the way, I want to do a shout out to Alicia Andrews, who is the state Democratic Party chair. I proposed this to her, and she has been very enthusiastic in supporting it and breaking new ground in free and fair elections.
Well, and we're working on some things behind the scenes right now to make it beneficial to businesses as well as if we're able to get that done. But I can't really speak on that because it's not working just yet. But know that we're working to try to make this beneficial for everybody. And I think it's also going to open the eyes of people that haven't participated in the process to see exactly what it takes, because our poll workers work 13-hour days. They get there before 7 o'clock, they get there about 6 o'clock in the morning. Actually, it's probably about a 14-hour day. They have to set it up, they have to go through, they can't leave. And then once the polls close at 7, they don't get to leave until their ballots balance with what they were given. And so it's not a difficult job, but it is a hard. It takes its toll. And so we would like to see that we've got younger people and that it doesn't take such a toll on.
You know, this really is civic engagement at the local level, and that's what I like about this program. And for the CEOs and business owners across the county to participate, that'll be monumental, and they will certainly be good corporate citizens.
So you guys excited about this?
Yes.
I think we're doing great things here in Tulsa County, and we're leading the way. And I'm excited. And I'm excited to work with the Democrat Party, and I'm excited to work with the Chamber and the Election Board. I think that this is going to go a long ways, and it's going to continue on, as I have said before, beyond Bruce and myself. So, thank you guys. Anybody have another one?
I guess lastly, the message to the rest of the nation, to all the other Democrats, Republicans, you guys are working together. The message, I mean, you guys are sort of a lighthouse in the way that we should be all getting along together. I mean, since we've been living in this era of dysfunctional government.
Right.
So what's the message to all of America?
Is that find the common ground that you can work together on and work together on it. You know, put aside your differences. We don't, when Bruce and I get together, we don't talk about what our differences are. We talk about the things that we can work together on. Because there are other things that I believe that we can work together on. And as I said, someone has to be the adult in the room. And we're willing to be the adults.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. What happened the other day in Washington, D.C., in the U.S. House of Representatives, defrocking the speaker, it shows the dysfunction that really needs to be mended for us to come together and engage the public and be civic minded.
So, thank you guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
it.